You there?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. We didn't get the intro with Scorpions, but it's okay. Unless you can still hit it. we can hit it while it's already going on. Five. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay. Just making sure it wasn't a 10-second delay. All right, we're live. It's a new episode of Midnight Mayhem podcast. It's May 5th, 2024. And with us, a special guest host, Damian Montecarlo. Good friend of mine, goes way back to Philly. He's filling in this month for Cody, who's taking a break right now from doing the podcast with us. We're going to talk about, I don't know, do you want to do two separate episodes, do one wrestling, one music, or just do all like I normally do?
Yeah, just do it how you normally do it.
Okay.
That works.
I don't know why there's a lag right now. I'm hearing your voice, but then it's not matching up with the screen right now.
So the last time I did one of these StreamYard things, it was the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was driving me crazy.
Yeah, I'm seeing you talk. I just hopefully it doesn't play back then with in synced audio. That's my only concern.
Well, I think the last one I was on with a friend of mine.
Yeah.
After he viewed it, it was fine.
It was normal. Okay. All right.
Yeah, but in real time, it's weird
right.
with this lag.
Yeah, it's fine. As long as I can hear you, it doesn't matter if it doesn't match up by screen, as long as it plays back normal. Yeah. All right, well, we're going to do a new episode. I guess we'll get into music news first. You want to talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductions, or?
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay. So we got the big names: Ozzy Osbourne, Foreigner, Kool and the Gang. I know I'm missing some. I don't have the list. I can check the list in front of me here.
Actually, let me pull it up.
Right. I only care about Ozzy and Foreigner at this point, but we got out of respect to the rest of the acts.
It was. I mean, every year it's been 5 people.
Yeah.
And then this year, well, it was 5 people, and then they always have like the Ahmet Erdogan Award, which they usually let like industry people in who aren't musicians.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. But now this year, the past couple of years, they've been letting people in for this music excellence thing, which is just like a bullshit way to get other people in. Which is cool, but it's like, okay, you weren't voted in, but we're going to put you in. Like,
right. It's like like putting someone's name in as doing their own. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, what's the point? I mean, so this year they said 7 people, but they let 8 people be voted in.
Okay.
And then they just added like a shitload of. There's like I think like 15 or 18 people are going in this year.
Wow.
It's ridiculous, and it actually is like a good class, but credibility wise, it's like if they're just letting all these people in, then what's the point of the voting? Right. Like
I think my beef with it is, I mean, they call it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but it's not everyone gets in there. It's like Mary J. Blige, I think, too, this year. Or, I mean, it's, I have no issues with Kool and the Gang. I have no issues with Kool and the Gang going in. I love Kool and the Gang, but I mean, don't call it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame if you're going to be, going to have rap acts and I guess R&B acts. I mean, it kind of goes against the grain of what it's called,
Yeah, I mean, I actually used to get uptight about that, but I'm kind of like, it is what it is, and it's not going to change. You know? What are you going to do? I mean, I figured it's like rock and roll just means like pop music now.
Right.
It's pretty much everything except like classical and country or whatever. But yeah, I got the list.
Okay, yeah. You want to read it off?
Yeah, they put Mary J. Blige,
right?
Cher, which I got.
Cher, she deserves it, right?
Yeah. Dave Matthews Band. I'm not really a fan, but
I'd rather put pins in my fingernails, but yeah.
Yeah. Foreigner.
He's a good actor, though. I will give. He's been in a couple Adam Sandler movies. I have to say he's pretty funny. Yeah.
Okay, Dave Matthews, Foreigner. That was a no-brainer. Peter Frampton. That was
okay.
Good.
Yeah, he deserves
Kool
it.
and the Gang.
Yeah.
Ozzy. and a Tribe Called Quest, who's been on the ballot. Like,
Right.
they're really pushing to get them in. So, and then they have like this music excellence thing, which is sort of like, to me, it's like, and I got no problem with any of these people being in, but it's sort of like a backdoor thing where like, okay, where you didn't get voted in, but we're going to put you in anyway, and just create like this bullshit way to get people in there. So Jimmy Buffett in there, MC
Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah,
I guess because he died this past year, they put they put him in. Right.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it have been nice if they would have, put him in when he was alive?
Right.
It's just
kind of like they do with wrestlers. I mean, poor guys dying, and they'll go, by the way, you're getting into the Hall of Fame now. You're dead, like Macho Man.
Right. Yeah. It's, get them in, like while they're still still alive. Dionne Warwick. That's a head
She's
scratcher.
in what this year?
Yeah, in this music excellence thing. Norman Whitfield. I'm not sure who this guy is.
Yeah, I don't know that name. That's something if I'm familiar.
But wait, there's more. Then there's a Music Influence Award.
Okay.
Alexis Corner. I'm not familiar. John Mayall. He was like a early 60s blues guy.
Right.
And Big Mama Thornton. So
I don't.
And then you have Ahmed Erdogan Award. That's like a music industry person, Suzanne DePace. So it's how many people are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 people are going in. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's crazy. It was supposed to be an exclusive thing with just 5 people and then maybe a couple others. But it's just crazy.
Right.
So like, how can you get all excited about the voting when they're going to put half these people in there anyway?
Yeah.
Who aren't
that's a good point.
Like, imagine Baseball Hall of Fame. Like, okay, Kurt Schilling, you almost got in, but you know what? We're going to put you in there anyway.
Yeah.
It's
or you put Jose Canseco in and you just induct his brother for no reason.
It's stupid.
Yeah. So you excited about? I mean, the two ones I'm excited about are Ozzy and Foreigner. I mean, is Ozzy now the first? Is Ozzy, like, help me out here? I don't know this. Is Ozzy the first performer that's been inducted as a solo artist and with a band as well?
Well, maybe for metal, I think. Yeah. But,
okay.
No, I mean they had. Stevie Nicks was in as a solo.
With Fleetwood. Yeah.
Fleetwood Mac. I think John Lennon and Paul McCartney and George Harrison are in both. Okay. Who else? There's like a couple others. There's not many, but there might be like a dozen that are in like that. But yeah, I mean, Ozzy was a no-brainer. And but really, I mean, I can't really see them putting any more metal guys in there. Maybe Iron Maiden.
I was just going to mention that. Yeah, you just read my mind. I mean, Iron Maiden. I heard
Motley Crue. Who else? I mean, really.
That will be interesting if Motley Crue goes in and then they don't have Mick Mars come in. They've done that with other bands.
Yeah, well, the way Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is, they'll probably put them in when once Mick croaks or something. Then they'll get some sympathy. It's bullshit. But
is it true with Iron Maiden? I heard Bruce Dickinson doesn't want to be inducted, or he doesn't want to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. No.
Yeah, they don't care about that stuff. Yeah, they've been on record and say that if they get voted in, they probably won't even show up.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you think about Ozzy now going in at Foreigner? Do you think,
I mean, I definitely think the timing is right because, a couple of guys in Foreigner, they're like in pretty bad health, and Ozzy isn't doing too hot either. So, so it's nice to see them both in there. I'm actually happy that Kool and the Gang is in there.
I was going to say, I mean, we're both Kool and the Gang fans, so that's pretty cool. I wonder who's going to induct them.
Yeah, it's always cool to see who's going to put them in. It's
I wonder if it's the original, the guy they have now is a Kool and the Gang singer now, or the guy I don't know his name, but he was the singer in the '80s when they had all the hits. I would hope he's going to be there.
I thought somebody died recently from them.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a saxophone player.
Yeah.
It's when we saw Kool and the Gang open up for Van Halen. The 2012 tour. I think it's a saxophone player that died recently, but he was in the band when they were on tour in 2012. But I should know this. I'm embarrassed I don't, but it's the singer. I can look it up. It's the singer in the 80s, though. He had all the big hits, like trying to think, like Misled and Cherish. I mean, all the big hits from the 80s. He was the singer, and I can't think of his name right now. Let's see if I can pull that up. Celebration. I mean, because they were a band in
the original guy.
No, right. They were a band in the 70s and had a couple hits, and then they kind of reinvented themselves in the 80s with him as a singer, and went on to even bigger stardom. Let me see, Kool and the Gang. Let's see if you can who can get it first.
I'm looking on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing. They mention all the
you wonder if they're going to list him.
But, I mean, they have a picture. Honestly, I couldn't even.
I would know. Yeah, as soon as I see him, I would know. Let me see if I can. It says, here you go. James J.T. Warren Taylor. He's an American singer who achieved fame, lead singer Kool and the Gang between 1979 and 1988. So he was the one in the 80s. I just remember when having the mustache and kind of the Jerry curls and kind of look like we're gonna date ourselves in era of being from Philly, but you remind me of Steve Jeltz from the Phillies in the 1980s.
yeah.
They all kind of had the look with the hair. Yeah, but yeah. So he was
maybe they'll have the surviving cast of What's Happening induct them.
Well, now What's Happening or What's Happening Now? That was a whole different they added new people, right?
Remember that episode where Rerun was bootlegging the Kool and the Gang concerts?
Oh, was it Kool and the Gang or Doobie Brothers?
Oh, it was the Doobie Brothers. That's right.
Doobie Brothers. He dropped the tape deck out of his chest, his stomach. He had a tape around his coat.
Right. I got them too confused for a second.
Michael McDonald was in that episode. I still watch. They had Kool and the Gang was not Kool and the Gang. Now you got me confused. What's Happening was on Tubi for like a couple of years, and they took it off recently. Yeah. But I was going back and watching all the episodes on there for free.
Yeah, I went back like a year ago just to watch that Doobie Brothers.
Did you that episode?
Yeah, that was a two-parter. So that was a big one.
I remember that when Rerun joined that dancing band when they all danced on stage together. I forget the name of that group. That was another episode. I remember. Yeah. But anyway, you got like you would say like your top 3 like Ozzy songs that you seen that he's being inducted into the Hall of Fame. What would you say is like your top 3 solo Ozzy songs?
Probably Bark at the Moon.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
No More Tears. It's another one. I'm so over like the stuff on the first 2 albums. We're so like heard them like
Crazy Train.
Oh man, I don't ever need to hear that again.
it's overplayed on the radio too much.
Yeah, Over the Mountain I like.
Okay.
I mean, there's so many.
I would probably say Mom, I'm Coming Home, and then Crazy Train, and trying to think of what else. I love No More Tears. I love that whole album. I mean, that's such an underrated album. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Perry Mason. I don't know. I'll throw that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
His later stuff, but have you heard his new album at all? The most recent one came out last year.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, the last 2 were pretty decent, I thought.
Yeah. There was something Patient Number 9 or something.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah. How about Foreigner? Any favorite songs you got with Foreigner? Say top 3.
Urgent. Jukebox Hero. They had so many. What's the other one? Shit. I mean, all the ballads that they had. I mean, they had a ton of hits. We saw them a couple years ago with Whitesnake. And
did you really? Oh, that must have been a cool show.
Oh, it was great. And it was somebody else opened up. It was like a great bill. It was a really good bill. But yeah, Foreigner, man. Every song they played, like you knew. And honestly, I only had like a couple of their albums.
Yeah, but I think I like their greatest hits. Yeah. But like you said, it was his hit. It was like Phil Collins. I mean, I know Phil Collins gets so much hate, but I mean, Phil Collins and Foreigner was like hit after hit in the 80s.
Yeah. I mean, you don't even have to own the records. You just go see them live, and they're going to play everything you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Foreigner for me probably be like Waiting for a Girl Like You. I mean, I guess I like some of the ballads, Hot Blooded. But you know which one I got stuck in my head and listened to a lot lately is Say You Will, which is one of their later hits. But that song stuck in my head every time I hear it.
Mm-hmm.
There's the video for it. Yeah, if you ever watched the video for it,
Yeah.
watch closely because they're in a limo. And I was telling this to a friend of mine. I swear to God, it looks like Paul Heyman's in the limo.
Oh, really?
How Paul Heyman looks now. There's a guy in the limo in the "Say You Will" video for Florida. It looks just like Paul Heyman.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know it's not, but it's just like you can't tell me it's not Paul Heyman.
Right, like modern day version of
Yeah,
it.
modern. Yeah, yeah. That was like one of their later hits, but I love that song too. You don't really hear that too much on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
You hear their '80s stuff, and it's about it.
Yeah, you hear like the same. You know, that's usually how radio is. They play the same 3-4 songs. And,
yeah. Unfortunately,
playing the death.
Yeah,
that's why I like to listen to Sirius radio because there's a little more variety, I think.
Oh yeah, I love XM. When I had XM in a rent-a-car about 10 years ago, I mean, you just put on the rock station or like new wave from like, you're hearing songs like listening to Morrissey. When do you hear Morrissey on the radio?
Yeah, right.
Anyway, you want to get into I guess summer concerts and all, and then we can get into Bon Jovi. So first of all, did you listen? We're going to talk about I guess the Dogs of War, Motley Crue's new song. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, I listened to it a couple times. The riff was cool, but I don't know. It didn't really do much for me. I'll have to give it like a few more listens. Like anything, stuff grows on you.
Yeah.
I
mean, do you think John 5 is like? I mean, he's got his own unique sound, but you think does it sound like Motley Crue? Do you think the new song?
Not really, but from what I've heard, he's been doing a lot of the studio stuff anyway the past 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, not that they put out any records, but they've been doing like like extra songs on a greatest hits record or the soundtrack that they did. They always record like new songs and put them out. But from what I heard is that he's on all that stuff. So, but now it really sounds like him playing. It wasn't like him trying to
copy Mick Mars, right? Sound like Mick Mars, right? Yeah. I mean,
it doesn't sound like Motley Crue to me, really. I
mean, we'll talk about the video in a second, but I'll mention Cody, even though he's not in this episode. Cody said to me, and I quote, and you can tell me if this is accurate, Damon, because I haven't heard the song. I'm going to listen to it. It basically sounds like something from Generation Swine. Is that true? Which is to me is the ultimate insult. This new song sounds like
Yeah, it's probably close. The closest.
You think so? Yeah. Why does it have like a synth sound to it, like a synthesizer, like kind of like?
Nah. It's just I don't know. It doesn't sound like Motley Crue to me.
Right. So you were lagging there for a second. I got you back on the screen.
You hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. I just didn't see it. It was kind of it froze up for a second. Yeah. So I'm trying to think what. So summer concerts. So what are you planning on seeing this summer? I noticed. I'm telling everybody I know. Live Nation is doing the $25 deal starting May 8th to the 15th. It's
really?
Yeah, it's a whole list of concerts that are going to be on that list. I think it's REO Speedwagon and Styx, Slipknot, Korn. I'm trying to think of all the bands. I think Pink's listed, but which I thought was really interesting. Iron Maiden's listed on the $25 deal, and I didn't think, as far as I know, Iron Maiden's not having a summer tour, right? I mean, they're coming to Philly in November 1st.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could get $25 tickets to Iron Maiden, man, indoors.
Yeah.
I'd jump on that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, a lot of those deals you got to jump on them like super quick.
Oh, and then Limp Bizkit's touring with Corey Feldman's opening act.
Yeah, that's right.
Which I actually wouldn't mind, believe it or not. I'd like to see Corey. $25, man. I'd go see Corey Feldman and Limp Bizkit.
I definitely want to see that. Yeah.
You see him do the wrestling rolling song from Undertaker, and then get to see Corey Feldman. That's like a 2-for-1 deal there, right?
Yeah. I definitely want to go to that one for sure.
Yeah.
So I think they're coming around. I would like.
I'd love to see Hard. I didn't. Yeah, if they're on the deal, I don't know if they're on that list of the $25 deal. But so who do you? Who would you? Do you have any plans on who you're going to see this summer, or anybody? Or
I don't know. I would like. I'm trying to pull something up. I would like to see Journey. Who is it? Journey.
I think Steve is Miller it Def? Band? Yeah, is it Def Leppard? Yeah, I would go see that. Yeah,
that's a pretty good. That's a pretty good bill.
I think that's going to be in Camden, but yeah, I would totally go see them together. The three of
them.
Yeah,
it's at Citizens Bank Park.
Is it really?
Yeah,
that's right. It is. Yeah, like August, right? Or no, end of July.
Yeah.
No, that's right. You're right, because I was looking up tickets. They're like $60 for upper level, but I mean, for Citizens Bank, that's not really bad.
Yeah, probably going to go to that one for sure. Honestly, I haven't really even looked and see who else is coming around.
Anybody but Dave Matthews. No.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't know. Motley Crue has been around just now for Atlantic City, but I don't know if they're coming around this summer. Guns N' Roses, I know, was torn last summer.
Yeah, I think they're taking some time to do nothing, probably.
Yeah. You think they'll come out with a new album, an actual studio album? Guns N' Roses?
I hope.
Me too. I mean, yeah.
They keep on, releasing these Chinese democracy, reject
Outtakes
songs outtakes, leftovers.
Yeah.
But it would be cool to have them do something fresh,
Yeah. And we were talking about earlier, Motley Crue, they're apparently back in the studio with Bob Rock, and they're going to make a new album. And so I'll be interested to hear how that sounds with John 5 on there,
Yeah, well, I heard that they did like 4 songs with them, and they're just going to put them out one at a time. I think they're going to be on Eddie Trunk Tuesday, so they'll probably have some announcement or something.
Right.
You feel what they're doing, but yeah,
so
a lot of bands aren't really doing that album thing anymore, because people don't buy them, and it's just sort of like, it's not really worth the effort, I guess, So they just kind of put out songs,
Right, release singles, and then you can put them up on Spotify, I guess, and if they got radio hits, then you got an extra bonus on your hands.
Yeah, just to kind of stay relevant, I guess,
Yeah. No, it's true. And a lot about this being in the music industry, how the industry's changing now. And it's like everything's digital, and how, like you said, are people going out and buying full length albums? It's more, if you can get a couple hits out, and release them individually. And then like my daughter, my daughter's 16, everything she download, people don't download full albums, at least not the generation below us. They're downloading the songs they like and probably not even listening to a full album if it's released.
Unless it's Taylor Swift or somebody.
Oh God,
Taylor Swift is probably the only one.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
nobody's doing. Nobody has the attention span. Everything's got to be instant. If you can't grab them within like the first 15 seconds, people just move on to the next one. I do it. Spotify every Friday. There's like a playlist I listen to. It's called Release Radar. It's everything.
Okay.
In like the algorithm, like the music that you like. And usually, if I don't hear something that I like for like the first 20 seconds, I just skip to the next one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. When the eclipse happened a couple of weeks ago, they heard Black Hole Sun went up to like #1 on the charts. It's like an individual, just an individual song, and it wound up like increasing 500% in sales on Spotify just from people wanted to hear it because of the eclipse. It's it's bizarre to me when you put it in that context. That's happening now. And then I read Guns N' Roses, like, I don't know why they went back up in the charts recently. I think Sweet Child of Mine, Welcome to the Jungle, and I forget the third song, like went back up to the top of the rock charts on like digital sales for the past 2 weeks. And no explanation, but like, it's amazing how one couple songs can like get a band, like, huge hits like 20, 30 years after an album comes out.
Yeah. There's still like a lot of old albums. I forget what it was. I think the Black Album is still on the album charts for like 600 weeks. It's freaking crazy.
Wow.
The Metallica Black Album. It's 33 years or whatever it came out.
Yeah, 1991. It was the same within a 2-month time span. In 1991, it was the Black Album, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, Nirvana's Nevermind, and Red Hot Chili Peppers' Blood, Sex, Sugar, Magic. You imagine? Yeah, like that's like some of the probably best rock albums of like all time inside of like a 3-month period.
Yeah, we did a podcast about that.
Did you really? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe like a year or two ago about records from 1991, and I mentioned that actually, like within a 2-month span, like August, September, October, like all these, great albums came out, just from that month or two,
God, I remember we'd go down you go down the Tower Records on South Street, and you pick up like it'd be a new release album on Friday, and you think about how fortunate we were and how spoiled we were like as teenagers, where we'd get like a life-changing rock album, like defining rock album every couple of months in that period from the late 80s. even mid 80s, but up into the early 90s before everything kind of imploded in 94 with grunge and everything else that kind of came after. But for the good 5-year period, man, I mean, you talk about album after album, it's just different bands that just had like the pinnacle of their careers at that point.
Yeah. I mean, they were all like, all in their heyday, really. I mean, it's just like the perfect storm, all in that same age bracket. And when they're all through their creative peak, I guess,
Yeah. Do you ever think there'll be a period like that again? I mean, a resurgence of like,
I don't know. The industry's just changed so much now. It's just, it's totally different. It's probably not. I mean, unless for some miraculous reason, everything kind of like goes back to like album sales or something.
Right.
But yeah, streaming is, I forget what the figure is, every 50 streams equals like an album sale.
Wow.
People don't have gold and platinum albums anymore. If to get a number one record, if you sell like 50,000 in a week, that it might get you number one or top 10 or something. It's crazy. Where back then, if you got like, a 500,000 in a week, you go to number one.
Yeah, I remember like it was a big deal. Like Guns N' Roses or Pearl Jam came out with like the first week 500,000 in sales. I mean, you would never see that again today.
No. I mean, they can't even sell that in 10 years now.
They were saying. I think I read online on Rolling Stone online that they said that this is the first year that there hasn't been like a top hip hop song in the top 10 charts in the whole year.
Wow.
So
really?
even hip hop and rap is suffering right now as far as album sales.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you what the I mean, other than Taylor Swift, I don't even know. I mean, pop singers, that's like the thing now, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I know Drake because my daughter Cameron's a big Drake fan. I mean, I know he keeps churning out the hits, but again, other than Taylor Swift and maybe Drake, I couldn't tell you any acts that have like huge albums. They maybe have like a hit, here and there, but I couldn't tell you,
Yeah.
I'm making myself sound old, but I couldn't tell you like any acts. Any acts that are coming out that have like huge hits, like, oh yeah, I know about them. I don't,
Yeah. Well, I guess you look at whoever plays the Super Bowl. That's what you gauge. Like,
yeah, even that though. I mean, like they got Rihanna, they got people that have been out for 10, 15 years, right? It's not anybody. It's just came down the pike in the past 2 years that are becoming like overnight sensations.
That's true.
I think the only I shouldn't say overnight sensation, but the only person that's come out in the past couple of years or 5 years that's been a new star is Billie Eilish. I really can't say anybody that's had mega success as a new act,
Yeah,
I know this having daughters, that's how I know Billie Eilish is like, Billie Eilish was like to them like Nirvana was, to early 90s for like the grunge kids. I mean, that was like, but no, there's nobody really. Can you say any like, new stars have come down the pike that has been like, household names other than her in the past 5 years? I can't name any.
Yeah. I mean, if I really thought about it, but nothing really comes to mind.
Yeah.
Ask a better question for a 20-year-old.
We're gonna do a separate podcast. There's two old guys in their late 40s talking about stuff we know nothing about, the relevancy of popular music now. We don't know.
Yeah, right.
We'll do like Wayne's World, but it would be Wayne's World in their 50s or 60s.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, you want to get into wrestling? Is there anything else music you want to cover?
Yeah,
Bon Jovi. Bon Jovi. We should probably cover that before we get into wrestling. So you watched now, it's Bon Jovi, the documentary. It's on Hulu and oddly enough, Disney Plus. And the title is, what's it called? Thank You and Goodbye, or
Thank You, Goodnight.
Thank You.
Yeah.
Thought maybe that's where he was going with it, because I mean his voice. I thought maybe he was saying goodbye. They said, "Is this the end or not?" For Bon Jovi, which I hope it's not.
Yeah, they kind of like alluded to that before. Like weeks leading up to this when they were promoting it. But after you watch it, it kind of, I kind of think otherwise. But it was really good. It was four parts, and I mean, we just, we blazed through the first three. Like,
are they an hour? They're an hour long.
They're about an hour long, yeah. But it's so good, so informative. The first episode, it goes, all the way back to his childhood and his first bands and stuff that he was into when he was first starting out. And then he was, like all the 70s, like Aerosmith and Led Zeppelin. But then when he saw Southside Johnny and Bruce Springsteen,
Yeah.
them being from his area, that
Right.
really like did it for him. And he was playing the same circuit as them, and it
Kind of like
just really
the
showed.
Jersey bars, right? The Jersey bar
Yeah,
circuits
yeah.
where you would see like the Springsteen and Johnny, what you just said, yeah.
But throughout the whole series, you know, it always goes to modern day, and it's like you show him working on his. They show him working on his voice and all the issues he's having, and
Yeah.
you know, you really feel for the guy, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really good. I mean, they've always kind of portrayed as like kind of like the good guy band, you know, like
Right.
Motley Crue were like the bad boys, but they're after you watch this, I mean, they were doing all the same shit as those guys.
They probably just did a better job of upholding their image. Probably that's the difference.
Yeah.
That's a good point you make. Kind of like, you know, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones were kind of like the Beatles were the good guy band, and the Rolling Stones were like the devil worshiper. You know, it was always a duality of bands. So that's a good point. Where like Motley Crue was like the, you know, don't bring them home to your mom type of band. You know, and then Bon Jovi was kind of like, you know, middle-aged moms were loving them too, not just, you know, not just young people at that time in the 80s. But yeah, so one of the things I took away from the documentary, from what I've heard, is you know, they show a lot of his childhood and pictures of his childhood, and also I didn't know this, but Deepak Chopra's son produced the whole series. Is that correct? Yeah. But what I didn't know was, and correct me if I'm wrong, is this kind of was a huge revelation to me, that the Moscow Peace and Music Festival, when Bon Jovi headlined that, which I'm going to get into in a second, because to me it's probably one of the best entrances I've ever seen of a rock band of all time. Kind of would put the WrestleMania entrances to shame when they came through the crowd in Moscow. But is it true that I read that it was Doc McKee was their band manager? They basically did the event in Moscow to raise money for him to have pay his lawyer to get him out of jail for drug charges. Is that true?
Yeah, well, I don't think it was to pay his lawyers.
Okay.
I think it was part of the plea bargain or some shit.
Okay.
Like that he had to. He made like this organization, Make a Difference Foundation. It was basically just to get, John just cover his manager's ass,
Right.
Which he talks about a lot. Like he was doing all this, and leading up to that, he was doing all this anti-drug stuff.
Right.
All these commercials, but it was because of Doc McGee's prior convictions or something. It was part of his deal that he would, do all that. So, John was always like there to kind of like cover his ass, and they did that concert and everything. But that was the reason why, because Doc was like a marijuana smuggler or something like that.
Which is now not right. Now it's being decriminalized. I just heard they updated it. It's the last week on the news. Now that poor guy went to get charges for that.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. Yeah, but no, I mean, I watched on YouTube the. I don't know if you watched it, Damian, but I think, was it pay-per-view? I mean, 1989. I don't remember seeing the Moscow Music Festival.
Pay-per-view, yeah.
Yeah, did you see it at the time as a kid? Because we never talked about that growing up.
I had the VHS. It was 2 parts.
Did you really? Wow.
Yeah.
How'd you get that?
It was good.
How'd you get the VHS? Did someone tape it? Did you buy it, or
they released it? It was officially released.
Oh, they released it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember watching.
It might be on YouTube.
Well, yeah, I watched it about 5 years ago on YouTube, and I never saw it as a kid. when we were teenagers or early teens when it came out in '89. But I was just blown away by the entrance at the end when Bon Jovi came out, and he had the long coat on, and kind of reminded me of the Nasty Boys kind of coat with like the airbrush on the back. But he goes through the crowd, and I mean, I still get goosebumps thinking about it. It's like you couldn't get Cody Rhodes or a pro wrestler to have a better entrance as far as how they went through and how they're pumping up the crowd, and you hear the music playing and they're walking through until they come to the stage. And I'll just still remember that. And you see like the red army, like Russian armies with the hats on. It's literally in the audience as they're coming through. I mean, you talk about like an iconic moment, and not just music moment, but just U.S. history as far as like before the Cold War, the wall came down and Cold War, and Bon Jovi's headlining, Moscow. I mean, it's crazy to me. Yeah, you look at it now, it's like, not that big of a deal. I mean, maybe it's a bigger deal again because we're not, we're kind of enemies with Russia. But, to imagine going in there when it's still the Cold War and Bon Jovi stands for everything with American culture, and they're allowed to come in there and put on a show. And I was reading a whole article, I think, in Rolling Stone magazine, and they were saying like you had to take the band afterwards in the car back to the hotel, and the KGB would follow them, and there would be like contraband where
that,
like oh, did they talk about it in the
they're
series?
followed everywhere, and they had to really watch.
Yeah, they were talking about how like I think trying to give like a couple of the girls T-shirts from the band, and they could have gotten big trouble just handing out a couple shirts to like Russian citizens.
Yeah.
What would you say?
They were one of the first. I think they said Billy Joel was there.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, only like a couple bands ever performed there prior to them.
Right. What would you say taken away from this whole series? Is there anything you learned that you didn't know about Bon Jovi before?
Trying to think. A lot of the stuff I kind of knew about, but it was just really interesting, especially like the early days, like him struggling to really get noticed and everything, and he didn't want to play in a cover band,
right?
Like everybody else. All he wanted to do originals, his own music, and him finding the guys and everything. It was pretty interesting,
right? How do you feel? Because I'm reading a lot online. How do you feel Richie Sambora came off? I mean, does he make peace with leaving the band? I mean, I was reading him. He obviously left to help raise his daughter Ava, and stepped away from the band. And he's made a couple. I wouldn't say disparaging. He's made a couple comments to the press and interviews since the documentary came out, as far as the band was stale and that was the writing on the wall for him to leave. But I mean, from what I'm hearing, he left because he wanted to help raise his daughter after getting divorced with Heather Locklear. How do you feel he came off in the whole series? Did he come off bitter, or do you feel like he came off?
I think they all came off really well. I mean, he apologized for the way he says he doesn't regret
leaving the band, right? Yeah, but
he regrets like the way he did it,
right?
But he mentioned his daughter and and his wife having like mental breakdowns at that point, and also on top of that, he said the band didn't sound like Bon Jovi anymore. He mentioned that, and the producer John Shanks, who's actually playing guitar now, there was one thing where Richie wasn't there in the studio, and that dude John Shanks played a guitar part, and Richie he got really pissed off about that, and then John says this is literally the part that he played, and he plays it on the guitar, and it was like some really short guitar lick, but it was probably everything that was boiling up to that point.
I mean, I heard Sambora came over Bon Jovi's house to watch the documentary together before it debuted. So, I mean, they're on good terms. I mean, do you think there's room? Do you think there's room for them ever reuniting, or do you think they would, or
he said it that they both said it that they would. I'm sure. Money has to, how much money you want to make, all that stuff all the business has to be worked out,
Right. I think what bothers me as a Bon Jovi fan is it kind of pisses me off is that, he got so much shit in the past couple years for how bad his voice is, and people are making critical comments about him when they're not really realizing what he's going through. I mean, you have all these bands like, Motley Crue and Vince Neil, where it took them, from what I've heard, it's taken them 20, 30 years to blow out their voice. With Bon Jovi, I don't know many people know this, but from what I've heard, he was getting cortisone injections in his vocal cords in the 80s and early 90s because he was doing 200 shows a year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it shows you. He was getting his voice massage. He was getting, he had these lasers down his throat. Like, he was going through everything. Vocal coaches all the time. And then he found this surgeon in Philly that would
really in Philly.
Made like a prosthetic vocal cord or something.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to go in and watch all that. But I think what bothers me is, like I said, people were like making critical comments and criticizing his voice, saying he should give it up and give it a rest, like stop singing, and not realizing the poor guy still wants to perform, and he's doing everything he can to get his voice back to the level it was. I think the singer from The Darkness, was alluding, I think 6 months ago, before anybody knew about the documentary, he was alluding to Bon Jovi should hang it up and he has bigger problems than people realize with his voice. And I'm like, I'm reading this going, who are you to tell that story? That's Bon Jovi's story to tell, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think maybe this documentary is good where it kind of he's vindicated, where people then really get an idea of what he was going through for the past probably 4 or 5 years. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, before we wrap up music, did you hear then the rumor that I mean, I shouldn't say it was rumors on Blabbermouth that Sebastian Bach would be willing to have a reunion with Skid Row?
Yeah, he's that guy's really trying so hard to. He says that like every time. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they should definitely do it. I have absolutely no interest in ever seeing them if it's somebody else.
You wouldn't see. I mean, would you see them with if Sebastian Bach came back?
But I mean,
no, I agree with you. I can't.
The guy they just had, I was a big fan of. He was incredible. Now
he was a Swedish guy, right? He was from Sweden or Denmark. Yeah. He's got a lot of health problems, is why he stepped down. But I mean, that would be the right time, right time for Sebastian Bach if they could work out the financial, differences. Is what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel I'm like 50-50 whether it'll happen or not. But I would not be shocked if they just got somebody else. And if they did, I don't need to see them ever again. I mean, it's
was it the rumor?
How can you have like be invested in a band that's always like
you can't
changing a singer? It's just like what's the point? Right.
Well, is it true they got Lizzie Hale? She's filling in temporarily, or
I think like on like 4 shows or something. They probably just had them like, they couldn't cancel them for one reason or another, and she's just bailing them out. But
I mean, do you think it's true what Sebastian Bach is saying, or do you think it's his own spin where he's saying there's no bad blood between the band? It's just financial differences that's preventing them from reuniting right now.
I think they hate him.
You do? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's trying to put in his own spin on it then.
Yeah. I mean, you could tell he's difficult. He's a difficult person.
Yeah. Well, if they did reunite, do you think they could do like a, opening up for Guns N' Roses? Because I know he's friends with Axl. Or do you think would they do like a small venue tour? I mean, what do you think they would be capable of doing if they reunited as a whole?
Yeah, I think they could be like a co-headliner on like an arena tour or something. I mean, if they did their own, maybe we could headline like a package or something, like with a couple.
I think they could do probably like theater things. Like I saw Extreme last summer. Yeah, they could probably do that, like with some other band, maybe like go on with like Firehouse and like do a mini tour. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to do something, they got to do it now. I mean, they're all like 60 years old. I mean, how much time is left? It's just the reality of it, and it's it's not hard to sing those songs. I mean, if he's going to do it, the time is running out. I think he even said that.
Yeah,
Sebastian Bach in an interview. I mean, just do it. I mean, if you don't like the guy, just have him ride in his own tour bus separately.
Well, right. I mean, look. If Van Halen they work through that. I mean, it's sad that stuff still coming out even after Eddie Van Halen's death. But I mean, David Lee Ruff's still running his mouth saying negative stuff. But I mean,
all those bands, Motley Crue, they don't like Vince.
But they were able to put their differences aside and go on tour together. And I'm glad they did, because I mean, you got to see them. I got to see them a couple times in 2012, and thank God they did, because then Eddie passed away. So, like you said, and now's the time to do it. I mean, do it for the fans. I mean, obviously they'll make a lot of money too. But
make the money. I mean, just do it, make the money, deal with the bullshit, and if you don't get along, just travel separately.
You
just show up at the venue. You don't have to do an album. People just want to hear the old songs anyway.
Yeah. I remember when Van Halen went on tour in 2012, and we saw him in Philly, and then I saw him in Reading, because they did Santander Arena too, and we were waiting outside afterwards, and David Lee Roth had his own tour bus, and some lady was out taking his dogs out for a walk. And he knew it was his dogs because he showed them up on the big screen, during the show, like, these are my dogs, But yeah, he had his own private tour bus, so I mean, they made it work,
Right. Yeah, all those bands, Motley Crue, they all travel separately, because they don't get along. I mean,
yeah.
It's got to be,
Oh, I went out for a second.
It's got to be difficult dealing with same people.
There's a lot of egos, a lot of big egos. I mean, that's what they kind of like in pro wrestling. It's sometimes you got to make the egos work together in order to get the job done and make the money.
Yeah, just do it for business.
I heard. I know you're not a fan. I'm not either. But the big story I heard this week was that Linkin Park's going to go back on tour, and they're getting Amy Lee from Evanescence as the new lead singer. And I'm not a fan of either band, so
Yeah.
I'd be skipping out on that. But I mean, that I guess
Well,
if they can make it work,
yeah,
if she could sing his.
I don't know if they're going to if they would. I mean, she's already in a big band. I mean, why would she?
Yeah, I don't know why that story came out this past week, and it got some traction. But I mean, I just can't picture her doing Chester's parts. I mean, even though Mike, does the rap parts of the songs, I just can't. I don't know. I just can't picture her doing the vocals for Chester's songs and Linkin Park.
I'm sure it'll come back though. Whether it's, I don't know who they would get, but they'll probably come back. I mean,
there's a guy on TikTok that he's like in his 20s. He sounds exactly like Chester. I mean, they could do something like that, like Journey did, where they get somebody out of nowhere that's an absolute replica vocally of the former lead singer, and they could probably.
Yeah. I think that's the way to do it. Just get an unknown person who sounds like,
Right. Anyway, you want to get into some wrestling news now?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we're at the 45 mark. So I mean, if we go a little over an hour, that's like hour 15. That's fine. We'll do like half music, half wrestling. So I don't know what to do first. Dark Side of the Ring episodes that you've watched, or we'll do that first. And then we can get into like the most recent happenings at AEW, because I know you want to talk about that. I do too, with Tony Khan and the pile driver, the Young Bucks. We can get into that. But so what episodes have you seen of Dark Side of the Ring? I just watched Sandman episode. I did watch Brutus. I watched Brutus Beefcake the week before. And which ones have you watched?
I think I saw most of them. I think I might have missed one, but the Sandman one I actually saw today.
Okay.
I saw the Sensational Sherry one a few days ago. I did see the Brutus Beefcake one. Who else was there this season? I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I was going to say I've only seen two, so I mean, I want to know what your highlights.
They're
so
all
far
good. I mean, they're all they're all really well done. Yeah.
I'm still waiting for an episode. I thought it'd be this season, because I mean it was up in the air whether they'd have another season this year. But I mean, you can't tell me before they end this whole series they have to do an Arn Anderson Sid Vicious stabbing in the hotel episode.
Yeah, that's right.
That's never been done. I mean, you want to talk about Dark Side of the Ring? I mean, that story's taken on legendary status of this urban legend, and surprised they haven't covered it yet. I mean, they've covered a lot of dark shit.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's about as
so what would you say is the highlight so far this season? Your favorite episode?
Oh, actually, the earthquake one was really good.
Yes, I didn't see that, but I know he had a pretty interesting story.
Man,
people don't realize he was sumo wrestling in Japan before he ever was discovered by Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
And then how he lost a lot of weight and then came back with a mask on. I never even realized this in WWE in the 90s.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he was a gold guy, I think.
Yeah, gold guy with the brown mask. Yeah.
The oddities.
The oddities. So that would be your favorite episode, you'd say, so far this season?
Yeah, I like that one. The man, I'm trying to think. I'm going to pull it up. Because there was one I thought was really good. The Sensational Sherry one was pretty good.
Yeah, I want to get into that. I have not watched it yet, but I read the reviews about it, and I was actually shocked by her beginnings. I didn't know she was married, and kind of said to her husband, I'm going off and going to become a pro wrestler. And she had like a 3-month-year-old son, and kind of just left them. And I mean, you and I growing up in the 80s watching it, we didn't know anything about some of these wrestlers, like what was going on in their private life. That was protected back in the day. So
I know. Yeah.
That was a huge revelation finding out about Sherry.
Terry Gordy one was really good.
Terry Gordy. Okay. Yeah. Bam Bam Gordy. Yeah.
Buff Bagwell.
I need to watch that one.
I didn't see any of the other ones. The Harley Race one I haven't seen yet. The Chris Adams one.
The Chris Adams one I didn't see it, but I heard it's pretty fucked up from stuff. I mean, the whole all the guys from WCCW. I mean, a lot of them had tragic endings, and just the amount of drugs. I mean. What was the guy? Gino? Is it Gino Hernandez? I mean, he was a male escort that was found dead in his apartment. I mean, Chris Adams too was getting involved in a lot of weird, crazy shit towards the end before he passed away.
I'm just saying this Brutus Beefcake one. The episode is called "Saving Face."
I know. And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because I did watch that episode, and as bizarre as it sounds, you can tell me what's the word, macabre. I was disappointed that they did not show any pictures of Brutus Beefcake like post surgery.
Yeah,
because I remember as a kid getting WWF magazine in like the fall of 1990. I think it was the November issue, and opening it up and going to the back of the magazine, and it was the first picture of Brutus Beefcake pro surgery. He was at some event. Again, there was no internet back then. And I remember seeing Brutus Beefcake's face. I mean, I even remember, I think I showed you, and we were like 13, 14 years old, and going, oh my God, like his face looked so completely, distorted. And that was the first glimpse of post surgery. But I mean, yeah, I always knew that. I mean, they peeled this whole face back and put like metal plates and rods and reconstructed his whole face.
Crazy.
But
yeah, they showed the X-ray.
The X-ray is really disturbing. That I remember. Yeah, I saw that last week. But I guess, I mean, he wanted to keep it private, but I was just really surprised they didn't show any like post-op photos, like, until he was shown publicly again on TV a year later with the barbershop, thing he had on Wrestling Challenge or whatever. Yeah. There was no, I think I wanted to see some kind of images of what he was looking like, when he got the bandages off at least, but, and
that was a pretty decent one.
Yeah. And how about, you haven't seen the Sandman one yet?
I did. I saw it today.
Oh, you did? Okay. And what'd you think of that?
I thought that was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't any big surprises in there. I think the two things I took away from the Sandman episode, which I thought were interesting, was that I didn't know he was a Chippendale dancer.
Yeah.
It was before he was discovered. But I thought the really cool part was I never knew the reason he got through the crowd, how he started coming through the crowd's entrance, was him and Missy Hyatt were at a like strip club across the street.
Yeah,
and they were late for his entrance, and they played the Enter Sandman, I guess, the whole 4 minute, the whole song, and they had to start playing it over. And he was like late for the show, so he just starts walking through the crowd to come down to the arena, and then the next thing you know, that becomes like his entrance.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to learn that.
Yeah,
the stuff with his son was funny, man. With his
Raven. Yeah, they haven't done a Raven episode yet, have they? With Darkseid?
I don't think so.
That's a whole episode in itself, because I mean, I don't know if you've known the urban legends about Raven, but he got fired as Johnny Polo because he was supposedly going out and going to strip clubs and drinking with Shane when Shane was just like, I guess 18, 19, 20 years old, and Vince got wind of that and was not happy about it at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he got like in a lot of trouble with, he was kind of like, oh, you're fraternizing with Shane, Vince's son, and so he started getting hated in the locker room, and then Vince got wind of it and fired him, and then he built up the whole Raven, persona when he went to the ECW.
That was a great gimmick.
Because he was still in WWF in like '94 as Johnny Polo. So like a year later, he came up with the whole. Less than a year later, he was an ECW Raven.
Yeah,
as Raven. Yeah, there's got to be an episode of Darkseid on him. What did you think? I'm sure you'll agree with this, but how much do you really think Stone Cold Steve Austin lifted off of Sandman's gimmick when you really look at it?
Definitely a good portion of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I realized it until many years later. Like, I think Shane Douglas made the comment in an interview recently. He's like, well, when Stone Cold spent a couple of months or 3-4 months in ECW, and he was doing Superstar Steve Austin, he was like making fun of Hulk Hogan, and then he was going to be in a program with I think Sandman or Mikey Whipwreck, and Paul Heyman wanted to give him the title. He's like, I don't want the title. I didn't earn it. I've only been here a couple months, and then he got the deal with WWE. But you think about how he kind of lifted Sandman's gimmick, Sandman drinking, Sandman, cursing. Shane Douglas would curse, so he kind of lifted that. So he definitely kind of like took several personalities from ECW and kind of made it into his own.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he wasn't doing any of that really. I mean, in WWE, he kind of changed a lot. He was the ringmaster and all that stuff. But
that was the gimmick they gave him. That was the gimmick they gave him when he came in, and he claims that he was having tea with his British wife, which kind of ties in with Chris Adams. It was Chris Adams' ex-wife, Jeannie Adams. But he was having tea, and she's like, you better drink your tea. It's going to get stone cold. And then like the light bulb went off. And
he was married to her.
Yeah, he was married to her. Yeah,
that was like his trainer too.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they didn't mention that in the Chris Adams episode. I mean, he kind of Steve Austin. Oh, you didn't see it? Well, I would hope they mention it. I mean, the honest truth is Steve Austin stole Chris Adams' wife. I mean,
and
a shitty thing to do, but he did.
And what's his name? Mongo Steve McMichael.
And Steve Mongo McMichael. So he kind of took two guys. And then Jeff Jarrett
And
took Kurt Angle's wife.
Was he with Sable too?
Sable?
Yeah, was he? No,
No,
he
it's Deborah McMichael. Yeah,
Okay,
Steve Austin.
Deborah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's probably in the Chris Adams story. I would hope they mention that. But
yeah, wow, man, he's over stealing.
maybe Steve Austin's gimmick should be he stole people's gimmicks and sold their wives.
Yeah, right.
That should have been his gimmick.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Anyway, we'll get into AEW, I guess, and then we'll cover last night's Backlash pay-per-view. I didn't see it, but I read the results. I know I'm excited to talk to you about AEW because when we normally do the podcast with Cody, Cody and me talk more about WWE. I know you're a big AEW fan. I've been getting back into it more lately. I was really into it the first year, and I kind of, whatever reason or another, I just didn't watch it, and I started DVRing it again. So let's get right into it. What's your thoughts on the whole, the Elite with the Young Bucks and Jack Perry, which I'll tell you in a second. I think he's brilliant, Jack Perry, what he's doing right now.
Yeah, I think it's great.
But so what's your thoughts on them turning on Tony Khan and kind of setting up an angle? I guess the questions are: do you think this is going to be? Yeah, do you think this is going to be an NWO type angle? Do you think Tony Khan's a part of the whole thing, or where does this story go if he's not a part of it?
Yeah, I hope they really milk this because I think it's. I think it's really good. It actually kind of got me excited because he's never been involved in any stories ever. He's always been like behind the scenes, and he'll come out for to make those special announcements and stuff, but he's never been in the story at all. So to see him, I thought that was really, really well done. And it really did feel like almost like an NWO thing. Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does, join them at some point, if that's part of the story.
I mean, yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, where does this story go? I mean, first of all, I want to say when they both had him, after they hit him, and then actually after Jack Perry punched him, and then he was on the floor, and then the Young Bucks came in, they both lifted him up, and he was on his knees. You couldn't tell me I didn't think they weren't going to both kick him at the same time and do their move on him. That's what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they lift them up, and then they do their screwdriver pile driver on from the top rope, and
Yeah. and then he's on he's at the NFL draft the next day.
He kept the gimmick going. He had the neck brace on, and I mean, he made a comment. I don't know if you heard it. I wanted your thoughts on this too. He made a comment that they're kind of like the Pepsi of wrestling, and WWE's they didn't say Jeffrey Epstein. It was Harvey Weinstein. It's almost just as bad. Which, hey, I can't say it's not completely true, the comment with Vince McMahon, but do you think him making that comment works for them, or do you think it puts him in bad light making a comment like that?
I don't know. I just wish he just wouldn't even mention them anymore. Yeah, but at the same time, I do like it when the companies take jabs at each other. It's but I mean, I don't know if it really works in 2024 now because it's so toxic. Right. With all this if you read on Twitter and everything, and it's
tribalism, right? The tribalism with AEW fans, the WWE fans, they're brutal. I mean,
it's so stupid. But then again, it is like a small fraction. I mean, it's not, you're only seeing a small fraction of it online, but it's just ridiculous. I don't care, man. I just want to be entertained.
Well, right. And I'm a fan of both. I mean, that's what they talk about. I think MJF was saying there's such tribalism in wrestling fans. I mean, I have to stay off online because I'll make one comment on Instagram and someone will come after me and go, what you don't like Gunther? I'll make one comment. It's just my observation. I'm allowed to not be a fan of somebody, and you get
that's an opinion.
Well, these people take it like it's you're insulting a personal family member. And I can't, I don't have the time or the patience at my age to deal. But like you said, it's such, excuse me, it's such tribalism in wrestling that AEW fan.
I don't remember being that way, but
I was going to say because we've both been fans since the '80s. Do you remember being that way with WCW and WWE back in the '80s and '90s, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've always kind of liked the underdogs anyway. I remember really liking the NWA because it seemed more real, and I liked WCW a little bit more at the time.
I did too. I
stopped watching it once they bought everybody up. Yeah,
because there's no competition anymore. They became stagnant. Vince McMahon needed competition in order to I said this, I think, in the podcast I had in January, Self-Destruction of Vince McMahon. I said that, Vince he needed a fire lit under the ass. He doesn't have competition. He just basically becomes stagnant, and he doesn't,
Oh yeah, well,
he
look
doesn't
what
try
happened
as
2
hard.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He doesn't try as hard.
I
But
mean,
I mean, I
sto-
agree.
stopped. I started watching wrestling again because of AEW.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I told you I met Eric Bischoff in 2017 at Icons of Wrestling ECW Arena, and I said to him, I mean, you agree with me, Damian? I said I preferred WCW in the '90s and then the NWO angle more than the Attitude Era of WWE. I mean, I know that's probably blasphemous to some WWE fans,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I just enjoyed WCW up until probably maybe 99.
98.
I won't even say 2000. Yeah, I
99,
would say from like 96, 97, 98, 99. I mean, I preferred WCW over WWE.
Yeah. 99. It was like the switch was totally flipped to WWF. It was.
Well, I think because
WCW was pretty
honestly,
bad.
Russo. I think Russo left WWE and then kind of started ruining
Yeah,
WCW at that point.
It was a mess. I mean, I was actually pretty excited at first when they hired Vince Russo,
Right.
because he was writing all this stuff,
Right.
With WWE, and I was like, oh man, maybe it's and WCW was losing every week at that point.
Yeah.
So I thought bringing him in, it was going to be, it was going to be different, but man, it was just worse. But Bischoff, he ruined it. I mean, but given a lot of wrestlers booking power and shit like that.
They made a lot of bad choices. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the finger poke of doom with Hogan and Nash, and then they
put the belt on David Arquette and everything.
I was just going to mention that. I mean, they put it on Benoit, and then Benoit walked down and left like 2 weeks later or a week later to go to WWE in like 2000. I mean, then they put it on TV. Yeah, and then they put the title on Booker T to try to create some stability, which I like Booker T, but I mean, at that point it was too far gone. There was nothing they could do to save face at that point. Yeah,
I was still watching it a lot back then. I watched it all the way up until the last episode, but it was pretty tough. Like, they're bringing all these young guys in, which was really good. Yeah, I did like that, but it was too far gone at that point.
Yeah, Kidman versus Hogan angle. I remember that they're trying to make Kidman into a big
I like
star.
Kidman.
Yeah, I did too. I was a big fan of him. He was from Allentown. He had Torrie Wilson on his side.
Yeah, it was the Filthy Animals.
Yeah, with Rey Mysterio, and they another bad choice. They unmasked Rey Mysterio, kind of try to ruin him. Yeah,
it was stupid.
So back to AEW. So where do you feel this angle goes to? Do you think it just pitters out, or do you think it builds up to something bigger and Tony Khan joins them? I mean, if he doesn't join them, where does this really go? Where do you think it goes?
Yeah, they got it. They got to milk it because they'll usually let stories go for like maybe 2-3 months. But it seems like the past year, it seems like they're really trying to get more into the storytelling, which really like kind of like infuriates me too when I read like the comments. Oh, there's no stories. It's like, well, if you don't watch it, and you just tune in once a month, you're going to see no stories. But I could tell you every freaking story that's been going on.
Right. Yeah, I hear that a lot from the WWE fans say that a lot. There's just no storyline.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a storyline.
The MJF story last, the MJF and Adam Cole story. That was like
like a year built up, right?
Yeah. Pretty much everything Jericho is involved with is like a year storyline. I mean,
people are mad at Jericho won the title. I think it's brilliant. I mean, he's starting a whole new faction with the Learning Tree, and I mean, that's going to go somewhere. Jericho made that comment. He's like, you got to see the big picture, so that right away they judge him for, getting the title. But there's a long-term story there why they're going to do that.
Yeah, just watch it. Just watch it happen. Just people need to relax. Like they're all over them. Like, oh, dude, just watch the story just starting. Yeah. A couple things I want to ask you about AW. So, what's your thoughts so far on Swerve Strickland's title reign? Do you like that they're going to put him in a program with Christian? I thought that was a good idea because he's like probably like one of the top 3 heels, I think. Yeah, I think Christian can elevate Swerve too as far as the storyline too. So that works kind of for both of them. Yeah. Now the only thing that they really need to figure out is because he has his own faction. The Mogul. What's he called? Mogul Embassy or something. Right. With Brian Cage and the other 2 guys, the Gates of Agony. They're in that thing with Swerve. They haven't been on TV with them in a while, so they're going to have to like disband that at some point.
Yeah, other guys they don't mention it, right?
Yeah, they haven't really mentioned it, so they're going to have to address that at some point.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe he gets a new faction because he's going to need some other guys to help him.
Oh, right.
If he's
right.
got, if he's got Luchasaurus and that Nick Wayne kid, and
it can't be just him and Nana, the Nana guy, two against the whole group. They leveled Nana this past week. I saw that.
Yeah.
But so let me ask you this question. MJF, because we kind of mentioned him a couple of times. I heard he did get surgery. He finally did get surgery on his arm or shoulder last week. Was it elbow or shoulder? I'm not sure. But now we know shoulder. Okay, so now we know why he's out. Because I know around WrestleMania the rumors were just swirling that he was going to show up on Raw the next night. And of course, he didn't.
I think he's signed for a few years.
Do you think he's re-signed for AEW for a few more years, or he's going to pop up in WWE after he heals?
Yeah, I think he's signed up for, I don't know, probably making a shitload of money for like another 3 years or something.
Yeah. So I mean, if he does come back to AEW, then you have the option of does he resume a feud with Adam Cole, or does he go after Swerve Strickland and say, you've been holding on to my title for a year, or whatever.
Yeah, I think they got to go back to the Adam Cole thing because now
the story.
They have to finish it because Adam Cole he's walking now. So I think by the time that MJF comes back, they could kind of restart that. But I think what's going to happen is I think the what is it, All In Wembley? I think that's going to be.
Yeah. They'll have to do something huge for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Ospreay and Swerve.
Oh, that'd be pretty big. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a great match, and Ospreay's got to win.
I'm going to tell you now. I mentioned it a couple minutes ago. I think Jack Perry's going to be. I remember when I did your podcast a year ago, and we were talking about future stars in, WWE and AEW, and I think you mentioned Powerhouse Hobbs, who's injured, and we were saying Gunther in WWE, which I do agree with. I think people are sleeping on Perry. I think if he can take this angle with CM Punk, I mean, you can see. I mean, I don't try to build people up bigger than they are, but his father was Luke Perry. I mean, I think the kid's got great acting ability. Just how he turns and smiles at the camera when he's hugging Tony Khan. I mean, it's just brilliant to me. I think he understands. I mean, I know people are making the arguments that he shouldn't have done the glass angle and that's what pissed off Punk. But I just think he has in his future. I think he has a good vision of understanding the psychology of wrestling. That I think he could be if they really run with this could be like an NWO type angle where he could
Oh yeah, I've always been a
Hogan
fan
of the
group.
Yeah, he could be the Hogan of the group.
Jungle. Yeah, he was great. Yeah. Even when he was Jungle Boy and everything, I thought he was really good.
They got to go somewhere with this gimmick, though. I mean, they got to have shirts or a name. I mean, I know they're called the Elite, but I mean, like I said, if Tony Khan turns out and joins them and shows up like they're fighting somebody else, and then Tony Khan comes to the ring and helps them, you got to have a big swerve in this whole storyline. And I think you do that, you're going to get fans throwing shit again. If Tony Khan winds up being a heel, and then you can get Tony Khan to come in the ring, and I don't know if he legally can, but I mean, you could kind of hint around and shit about CM Punk at that point without saying his name. You could get so much heat if you turn Tony Khan heel.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Well, Kenny Omega is coming back, so I think he's going to kind of maybe get his own faction or something.
Right? Is
he
clear to wrestle?
I don't know if he is, but he was on.
Because he has diverticulitis. Well, he has diverticulitis like Brock Lesnar had, and he was saying that he doesn't know if he's going to be able to wrestle again. I mean, so I don't know. I hope he can.
He was on Dynamite. He got down there. He was getting physical. So I mean,
he was okay.
Yeah, I think he mentioned he's maybe 2 months away.
Okay. Hopefully everything works out for him in his stomach and he can come back.
July. Yeah. So maybe they'll make his big match All In or something. I don't know. Really build it up.
Right. All right. Well, we'll wrap up. I guess we got do another 10 minutes. WWE. So have you been watching it lately, or are you just kind of following from a distance?
Yeah. I've been trying to watch. I've been watching a lot more than I have, in a long time. I think it's been, pretty good. Really good.
What Kiss? I just saw your Kiss shirt, but what you got? The End of the Road tour? Is that what you got on? I couldn't say.
Yeah, I got this one. I bought when they announced the last 50 shows. They gave you a T-shirt. I had to join the fan club or something to get early access, so they sucked me in for that.
Yeah, I think I got the one in 2019 at Wells Fargo Center.
Yeah,
that was the last one I got. But anyway, back to WWE. So what's your thoughts overall with Cody Rhodes as champion? I know I wanted to bring this up. I mean, I'm going to make a joke of it, but I mean, how many more Usos how many people have to keep joining from the bloodline at this point?
Yeah,
It's like a clown car. We open up the car and 50 clowns come out. I mean, I know they're going to build up to Roman Reigns coming back and rejoining Jimmy and Jey Uso, but
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they're building up. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing where that's going. There's going to be like the two, the faction probably like split in half and a big battle with them. So.
The new guy debuted. The new Uso. I shouldn't say Uso. It's Tonga Tom's other brother, and he joined. But everyone said that it was going to be Jacob Fatu was going to show up last night. So there's still one more that's still going to join as far as the bloodline.
Jesus Christ, there's so many of them.
Right. Like I said, I can't keep track. And this guy, the new one that debuted yesterday, he played. His name was Camacho. He was like a Latino wrestler like 5 years ago. So is he really even Samoan bloodline at this point? Like,
I mean, how many more people can they throw in there before it just gets ridiculous?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's like the NWO when they were just having everybody join.
God rest Virgil's soul, but Virgil's alive, but they probably might as well throw him in the bloodline as an angle at this point.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I have to say, I have to give it to WWE for doing long-term storytelling with I have mixed emotions about at one side of it. I go, this is a really good long-term storytelling. But on the flip side, how many times is Jimmy and Jey Uso going to turn on each other, join back together, turn on each other, join back together? Now you got the new Usos in there, and Solo Sikoa being the new tribal chief. I mean, I think it's inevitable. There's nowhere else to go other than Roman Reigns comes back and goes like to Paul Heyman, like, what the fuck you guys been doing while I'm gone, and kind of gets pissed and then brings the Usos back with him and kind of
like he come back. It's got to be before SummerSlam.
I would guess if not SummerSlam, then this is going to continue to November to Survivor Series, and then you're going to have Bloodline versus Bloodline. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I heard stuff now that I heard there was like a lot of hit pieces done on Dwayne The Rock Johnson the past week. That they said he was showing up late to WrestleMania. He showed up late to the WWE Experience at the convention center.
Yeah.
So he's getting a lot of people are like talking shit about him right now. But I don't know if that's just like the press is going with that and running with that, or is this within WWE people are saying it. But I just assumed when WrestleMania ended, Sunday night WrestleMania 3 weeks ago, that they're going to build up to it's going to be either Cody Rhodes versus Rock next year, or it's going to be Rock versus Roman Reigns next year. So I would think
good,
right? Which I would think then, if that is the case, then you have to have Roman Reigns stay off TV for another 3-4 months, and I guess build it up to he comes back either SummerSlam or Survivor Series, and you have two factions of the bloodline that goes on for another 6 months, and then finally, I don't know, maybe you do something at WrestleMania next year where it kind of is like the bloodline finally ends, and whoever wins disbands the bloodline or ends the bloodline once and for all. I mean, I don't know.
They kind of got to squash it at some point before it gets silly, but. Yeah, I mean they could go on until like next WrestleMania,
They could go on another 30 years and just have like the sons of the bloodline.
Yeah, right.
Dusty Rhodes, the Cody Rhodes' daughter. It's like Dusty Rhodes is finishing his dad's story. You can have Cody Rhodes and his wife's daughter against Roman Reigns' kids. It'd be like a whole.
Yeah, right.
So, do you think what's your thoughts of Cody Rhodes as champion? Do you think it's more exciting, or it's about the same, or it's less since Roman Reigns has stepped away?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's the buildup was, to him, to become that was incredible buildup, and now that he is, I mean, it's just like, with him and AJ Styles, like I was telling my buddy the other day, I was like, where was the story building up?
There was no story. No, there was. You're right. There wasn't. There wasn't any. Yeah.
So where does he? Where does he go? Like, people were saying that maybe there'll be like a heel turn or something.
I could see that. Somebody made a comment. I forget what wrestler. Yeah. Somebody said he could see. Was it Kevin Nash? Undertaker. That's right. Undertaker said, I see him more as a heel. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You'd have to build up, I guess, LA Knight. You'd have to make somebody else the face of the company if they turn Cody Rhodes heel. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a
I
done
don't.
deal,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. What's your namesake? What do you think of Damian Priest as a champion? You got a champion the same name as you now.
Yeah, right.
Well, no, I'm joking. My Cody, who does the show podcast, so he's the champion. You got you're
That's
the
right.
other champion.
Yeah.
I got nobody. There's nobody named John as the world champion.
Or Ronnie.
Ronnie, yeah, Ronnie. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that group's going to have to break up, right? You can kind of see the
I think
cracks
that's building.
there. Yeah.
I mean, I think. Well, I don't know. Did you watch Raw a couple weeks ago where you see Dominic Mysterio coming out of the dressing room, and then a couple minutes later, Liv Morgan comes out of the same dressing room? So I think they're building up to Liv Morgan's going to take Dominic from Mommy, and then she's going to come back and to finally have a feud together, Mommy and Liv Morgan.
For a while.
Yeah, I think she's going to be out probably till at least November. I would guess, if not longer. Yeah, I don't know. I was a big fan of Rhea Ripley in the beginning. I don't know. I think her whole gimmick and look has kind of been stale with the Judgment Day. I don't know. Like you said to me, I think they're making her too much out to be China now. And I liked when she had her original kind of gimmick and look before she did the whole mommy.
Yeah.
Think about it. It's like Mommy Zeta with Eddie Guerrero and China. They're doing the same thing all over again with her.
Yeah, well, it's she gets it. That group is weird because some guys get pops. Yeah. Some of them get like a lot of boos. It's like I don't know. That always bothers me. Like when some guys are over and some aren't.
Yeah. Yeah, they got it. Like you said, I think that they're going to have to break the group up because if you saw the pay-per-view yesterday in France, Damian Priest is kind of like, I don't. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean,
I read the results.
Right. So I don't want to give any spoilers out.
You can give it away. It's all right.
But I mean, at the end of the match with Damian Priest, he's more or less, I don't want your help, and he pushed Finn Balor because he doesn't want to be like Roman Reigns, where he kind of constantly got help from the bloodline. So I've seen it for a while now. You kind of see like Damian Priest has kind of become the de facto leader of a Judgment Day, and he doesn't want to cheat. He wants to. His interview he did. I don't know who he was doing an interview on Raw a couple weeks ago. He was kind of like tweening at that point because he was supposed to be a heel, but like he was saying stuff somewhere between a heel and a face, and they're going to turn him face at some point and break up with Judgment Day. I think that's inevitable.
Yeah, he just I mean, I was shocked when he won.
Oh, I was excited. I mean, that crowd was
I thought that was great. I mean, that was that was so well done. How he won, but I was like, man, I don't know. I mean, because maybe because I just really started watching that a lot on a regular basis now. Is he really like championship material at this point? I always saw him like an upper mid carder kind of.
I'm going to be honest with you. It's a really good point, Damian. I hate to say this. I almost see Damian Priest as kind of like where Swerve Strickland is right now. Where are they holding on to the title for kind of like a torchbearer till someone else comes along, or is he a temporary champion? I don't. Champion. Yeah, that's what I meant. Transitional champion. I hate to disparage either title reign with Swerve Strickland or Damian Priest, but like you said, does he have the the staying power like an Undertaker, to be a man, or even Seth Rollins? I mean, I don't know. I wasn't a fan of Seth Rollins' last title reign that he had, so I kind of like that there's new blood with Damian Priest as a champion, but they got to go somewhere and make this exciting for Damian Priest to at least carry Raw. I mean, especially when they go to Netflix next year.
CM Punk was always that one of his big things was that he always wanted to headline a WrestleMania. Right. So you think it's got to lead when he comes back. It's got to lead to something for next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a given. It's going to be Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk at SummerSlam.
Yeah,
if he's ready to come back
in between that point from him.
Yeah, and then maybe next year Punk then has a title match as a champion in WrestleMania. Yeah, I could see that. Anyway, I don't think we have time. We should probably do another episode. I do want to ask you about Vince McMahon for a second, a rumor I heard, but we should probably do another episode when we get a chance of this favorite wrestling movies, because I've been trying to do that for a while now on my podcast and never gotten around to it. I was going to do it around WrestleMania with Cody, and we didn't do a podcast, unfortunately, around WrestleMania, which I was disappointed, but I want to save that. And, God, I mean, we could just do a list.
Yeah, I saw that list.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I've left out ones. I forgot Ready to Rumble. I mean, there's a lot of ones we didn't.
That's right. Yeah.
But no, so
Body Slam.
Bodies, yeah, I put Body Slam on the list. That's such an
Yeah, I
underrated
saw that on there,
wrestling
yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Was it one of the Tonga brothers were in that? Rowdy Piper, right? It was a
Yeah,
quick,
well, I think
quick.
Alpha and Sika were in that movie too.
Yeah, they were in it too. Ric Flair had a cameo, but yeah, we should probably just do like maybe a 20-minute episode sometime, maybe in a couple of weeks of just favorite wrestling movies. That would be a pretty cool topic.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Yeah.
But I'll wrap it up with this. Have you heard or read any rumors of Vince McMahon? I heard his no complete clause ends January 1st, 2025. And I've heard so many conflicting stuff. And Dave Meltzer's brought it up. Do you see, on a closing note, does Vince McMahon, if he gets his name cleared from all this, do you see Vince McMahon starting up his own wrestling company, or do you think this is it? He walks away from wrestling for good, even if he's found innocent of everything. What's your take on that?
I think if he was like 10 years younger, he would. But
yeah,
I mean, what is he, like 76 or 77?
Well, he's like Aerosmith and all the bands we love that they're still touring in their mid to late 70s.
They love it.
You don't know.
But I guess you need like a TV deal is like the most important thing, because he's not going to want to do anything without that.
No, right. Unless he did.
If he could secure that, I mean, it'll be pretty cool to see, all the bullshit aside, with him.
Right.
It'd be cool to see him do something like that and see what would happen,
Yeah. No, I mean, my last episode was the whole basically self-destruction of Vince McMahon. I was just ripping him a new a-hole as far as the stuff he's in trouble with, so I don't want to come off like I'm spinning in a different way. But I mean, if he was found innocent, I mean, I don't know, maybe he's too old, he just wants to enjoy retirement, but he sold off most of his TKO shares. He sold off everything recently.
So I mean, maybe you should buy TNA or something.
What would you think about him like partnering with Tony Khan, or do you think that would kind of be like poison injected into AEW?
I don't think he would ever do that.
Yeah, he could partner with Jeff Jarrett or do like you said, TNA or Global Force Wrestling or Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor. Now Ring of Honor's partnered with AEW, so you can't do that.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It'd be interesting to see next January if Vince McMahon still has taste of wrestling and blood in his mouth, that he wants to come back, because. I mean, for all the things that Vince McMahon succeeded in, I think people forget he's failed in XFL, World Bodybuilding Federation.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, he doesn't have 100% success rate, but you just wonder if he has something to prove to himself, that if he's found innocent, and his name is cleared, would people want to do business with him, like you said? And I could even see him maybe getting a deal, not just with television, maybe like WD goes to Netflix.
Yeah, what does he do? I mean, what's he do? Does he get
a deal with the USA Network because they lost it with WWE? That would talk about a spin, man.
Yeah,
WWE goes to Netflix, and then Vince McMahon puts on a show and buys time on USA Network. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? I mean,
he could do something with Tubi or Pluto TV or all these streaming services like AEW was talking about maybe doing with I think Tubi at one point they were talking about partnering with.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, the other question is who would even work with Vince McMahon at that point either, Yeah,
he's got a pretty bad reputation. I mean, he always did, though, but, money talks,
Yeah. I mean, I could see, like, maybe guys who were fired by WWE that it certainly couldn't be guys fired by him because they wouldn't want to work for him again. He's fired so many people,
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's got that old school kind of business mentality where, he doesn't give anybody freedom. He owns everything. No. He wants to write everything. It's just like,
I don't think it was like that in the 80s. I mean, I think something turned along the way. Why the same reason why you stopped watching it is he became a even bigger control freak at one point, where he's writing people's promos and screaming in the earphones to like, Michael Cole telling him what to say during announcing. I think as he got older, he just wound up micromanaging things to the level of just basically strangling everybody in there.
Yeah. I would love to hear what those play-by-play guys hear in their headsets. I wish there was something leaked on YouTube.
That would be really cool if they ever leaked it.
Yeah.
I definitely think, like, if you watch WWE now, you're watching it again, I think you can tell the morale is so much higher now that Vince McMahon's not there and Triple H is running things.
That's what they all say. Yeah.
But you can tell the atmosphere just watching it. I think it flows much more better. And how I've been watching Raw every week, and I'm actually watching instead of just having it on the background while I'm eating dinner. Like, I got to come up to the TV and go, "Oh shit, what just happened with Drew McIntyre and CM Punk in the press box?" It's kind of exciting again, which it hasn't been for years with Vince McMahon running it.
Yeah. Because it seems like anything can happen now.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up. I guess you got any last parting words you want to add to this podcast tonight?
No, it was pretty good. Covered a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, I try to keep it around like the 114 mark, but we did like almost like 2 episodes combined right now, so that's pretty cool.
One overtime.
Yeah, we'll what we'll have to do is I'll have to do when we do when Cody comes back and wants to do another one. It's my goal to do like have you on too, and we could do like a 3 episode with all 3 of us,
Mm-hmm.
But I got to pay extra for that. I'm bare minimum here with the 2 screens. Everybody you watch, start watching my videos more so I can get more revenue so I can add a 3rd screen to this podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, Damian, it's good to have you on. I'm glad you come on and talk about music and wrestling and everything else. Last question. Who's winning the Stanley Cup? Who you got winning?
You know what? I haven't followed it at all.
No, really?
The Minnesota North Stars. I don't know. No, I haven't followed it, and I should be ashamed of myself.
I'm gonna go Rangers Vancouver. Repeat of the 1994 Stanley Cup Finals, and I'm betting my money on Rick Tocchet gets the Stanley Cup with the Vancouver Canucks. So there you go. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I always like to see like an older team win it who hasn't won it in a long time.
Yeah.
Or who never won it. I'm not a fan of the expansion teams from like the past 10 years.
I'm not either. They've been getting everything handed to them. Look at Vegas won in 5 years. It's ridiculous. Yeah. No, they got to earn it. They got to suffer like the San Jose Sharks suffered when we were teenagers for good 10 years before they were contenders.
Yeah. I like to see like an original 6 team or one of those teams win something for a change.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe Boston will win. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, Damian, I'll let you get going. I'll have this up on YouTube probably next 24 hours if you want to check it out. Everybody, thanks for watching. Damian, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, sounds good.